Hello, Genesis fans. We have been overrunning on our videos recently, and by we, I mean me. Although I'm sure Josh didn't help. So I'm going to do a real short and snappy one today because we know these stories, and I already know that there are just tons of lessons to be learned in Genesis 39 and 40 as we look into the story of Joseph. Joseph in a household, employed and working his way up the ranks through faithfulness and righteousness to get a position of responsibility. Joseph falsely accused, Joseph put into prison, Joseph interpreting dreams. We know these stories and have probably heard them taught about before. So I just really want to encourage you, more than anything I'm going to say, let me encourage you to share what you notice about these scriptures and get active in the comments today. If you've been watching these videos and you've never commented, if you're watching after the fact, if this is not January 2024 for you, but you're catching up, or you're a few days or weeks behind us, please still jump in and share what it is that God is speaking to you, because there's something about sharing that's really important. And I know that there are tons of lessons in these scriptures, but just a couple of real simple things from me. The first one, particularly in Genesis 39, that I get drawn to is just how much power Joseph has. He has so much power. And I think we get power all wrong sometimes because we equate it with position or, where we are in the kind of social hierarchy. Joseph has so much power. And, he's free. He is a free man. Yes, he's enslaved. Yes, he's working for somebody else. He has a boss. He has responsibilities and obligations, but he's free to make good decisions. He's free to choose righteousness. He's free to kind of forge his own path. And I know that sounds untrue because slavery by nature is a lack of freedom, but you see him choosing the right way every time. And actually, he in his slavery is more free than his brothers are in their freedom, because they're slaves to pride, envy, greed, jealousy and insecurity. They're slaves to all of those things. And so that's what's driving their decisions. Whereas Joseph is free in Christ and therefore can make all the right decisions. Like he makes the decision to run from temptation when Potiphar's wife is obviously, trying to seduce him and trying to manipulate him. He's free to choose what's right. He's free to worship God. He's free to, have clear conscience that he's making the right calls. And we've got to remember that we have freedom. We have freedom in Christ to choose the right thing. And so whatever your circumstances look like, maybe you don't have the circumstances that you may wish to have. Maybe you don't have freedom in your career path or in your free time or in your finances in the way that you might like. But in the most important ways, you're free. We're free in Christ. Our chains are broken. And Joseph, enslaved, models a really beautiful freedom, I think, to choose what's right and to live free of shame and guilt and all of the things that the enemy would want to accuse us with, because he just chooses to do it God's way, and that's the best freedom there is. So I love that about the story of Joseph. I also love, just in Genesis 40, we're reminded of Joseph's truth-telling. Got him into trouble a couple of chapters previous when he's telling his brothers everything that he saw in his dream. And there's, perhaps a questionable wisdom there that we maybe don't always want to share everything that God tells us when it's for us personally, when it's for our future, when it's something maybe that hasn't come to pass yet. There is something about holding those things close. But Joseph is a truth teller, and that is a quality that God has placed within him that he will be served by in the long run. And so whether he's proclaiming somebody's freedom from prison or whether he's proclaiming somebody's death sentence, he does not hold back. He receives from God and he delivers as it is given. And that's such an important characteristic, because we know that that's going to see his circumstances changed tomorrow when we read tomorrow's chapters. So I do, I just notice Joseph's truth-telling nature. It has cost him dearly, but he is uncompromising in the fact that if he hears something from God, he's going to share it just exactly as he heard it. And, you know, you've got to respect that. I respect that so much, that even though he's telling one man that there's judgment on him, the very message that he would never want to hear, he still says it plain and simple. He doesn't complicate it. He doesn't mince his words. And, you know, sometimes we're too perhaps caught up in what people want to hear. But actually, we just have to be truth tellers as well. Jesus is the truth, the way, the truth, and the life. And instead of interpreting for people how they might receive that truth, we've got to be uncompromising in bringing truth as well. Not clumsy and not unkind, but direct. Because if we spend too much time thinking about what people want to hear, then the message gets muddled. So I just respect that from Joseph, that kind of quality that he has to choose what's right, to live free even if he's in chains, and to tell the truth. That's incredible leadership that we can learn from, incredible wisdom, great way to lead your life. So those are a couple of things that stood out for me today, but let me just encourage you again, jump in those comments. What have you got to lose? I'd love to hear what you're saying. Thanks, guys.